And switching gears, President Biden is in New York today to address the annual UN summit, and his number one priority to make a continued case to send support to Ukraine.
Russia alone bears responsibility for this war. Russia alone has the power to end this war immediately. And it's Russia alone that stands in the way of peace, because Russia's price for peace is Ukraine's capitulation, Ukraine's territory, and Ukraine's children. Russia believes that the world will grow weary and allow it to brutalize Ukraine without consequence. But I ask you this: if we abandon the core principles of the United States to appease an aggressor, can any member state in this body feel confident that they are protected?
And Volodymyr Zelensky, Ukraine's president, is also at the event in New York. It is the first time he has attended in person since the Russian invasion of his country. But even more strikingly is maybe who is not present at the 78th General Assembly. 4 of the 5 Security Council veto members are absent: China, Russia, France, and Britain, as well as India. Joining us now to dig into this is Steve Clemons, founding editor of Semafor. So, Steve, let me ask you just to begin, high-level question. What do you think Biden's intentions were when he addressed the UN today? His goals, what were they, and do you think he achieved them?
I think President Biden is continuing to underscore that the invasion of Ukraine by Russia violates every norm that those members of the United Nations stand for. It violates, UN charters about territory. And so it strikes at the heart of the UN. And so Joe Biden is taking his ongoing efforts to, maintain strong support for Ukraine around the world to the United Nations. But he's in part doing it to remind America why it's there. I mean, everything Joe Biden does has 2 things. One's the world. The other is, a lot of support in the United States is flagging for Ukraine. You're beginning to see that issue become more politicized, some Republican opposition to it. So it was an effort to try to find common cause. Did he achieve that? I'm not sure. As you just pointed out, many world leaders are not at this summit. This UNGA, as we call it, feels a little bit more flat than most. There's a lot of parties going on around the city. There's a lot more social justice, climate justice groups doing things. So it has that sort of festive feel. But the United Nations itself seems a bit tired. So I'm not sure that Joe Biden connected in the way he hoped to.
Yeah, Steve, it does feel like at least this week, the narrative on the climate side feels a little louder. But we are talking about Russia, Ukraine. You just highlighted those key members of the UN Security Council that are not there. What does that say about the muscle that UN currently has in this conflict and how a lot of that has been weakening?
It means that the United Nations muscle in that is sort of non-existent. It's split. We just had a G20 meeting, and a lot of, I think there's sort of meeting exhaustion out there. This was held in India. Modi was there. Of course, President Biden was there. Africa was brought in as a full member. And as you remember, they did a watered down version of a statement out of G20 saying, territory should be respected. But they did not specifically condemn Russia. Russia celebrated that as a victory for itself, even as the United States said it was there. So we've been through this dance a little bit just a week ago. And now in the United Nations, I don't think anything has fundamentally changed since that position. But when you look at the members who aren't here, it's very surprising. And the security, there's a lot of pressure of saying, hey, maybe the Security Council needs to be reformed. Maybe we need countries on it who will actually attend the General Assembly. But I think right now, you saw Zelensky come. It's very important that he is here. He gave a speech basically outlining how Russia has weaponized food and weaponized energy. But it seems to kind of be a lost, in my view, and I hope I'm wrong, it's sort of a lost message here in town today.